That's a good view. The mighty village, lion sleeps tonight. Where should I put? Where should I? Let's take some nails and put a guitar there. Come in to the robin, nothing else. The robin may enter and go back into its nest. I don't know why it left. The other birds, once a blue jay came in and attacked it, and I had to scare the blue jay off. And after that, I cleaned the floor around it, so I did leave a bunch of trash there in the winter because I felt like that. I know enough about living out here that animals and me feel more comfortable when we have a bunch of garbage. People get so angry at homeless people for dumping their trash outside their tent. What they don't realize is that all of us have had our power taken from us. It's sort of like rape, except it's like it's happening all the time. Every minute of every hour of every day, it's just like you're being raped over and over and over and over again. Anytime there's a loud noise or pretty much anything, when you become an animal, but you're not allowed to scream like an animal. Animals solve this problem by yelling. That's why if you go out in the woods, all the animals are just constantly making noise. The birds, the squirrels, everything that isn't an apex predator is fighting for some kind of dominance over the space to feel safe. And as a human being, we're not that. Or else the white people will call the police on us. And say that there's something wrong with us. Because we don't hide. In the jungle. Let's try that. That looks cool. I don't expect anyone to donate. There are people with a lot of money that watch me every single day, and they haven't done anything for a long time. Ever. People have been watching me with a lot of money for years now. But the people that have nothing help me get phone service sometimes, or if I'm hungry. It's almost like the financial system was made so that the worst fucking people in the world have it. Like the only way to get money is to be the farthest from God. It's almost like it was a whole system based on raping children. If you're well off, it just means you're better at embracing a system created to rape children. So there's one stand. Check this out. This is for when they show up to kill me. I hung this up. I think I want to put this maybe here. And my bat is I don't know where I put my bat. Oh, let me show you where the crow was. I don't know what it was. I woke up this morning and there were birds I'd never heard before screaming, and there was just too many of them, and they were just circling around the cabin. It's like they would be over there and then they would follow over here. And I thought that they were setting some type of dark perimeter because I felt this pain in my stomach, like I was being attacked, like my energy was being eaten by something. Like it was like the Harry Potter Dementor just ripping out my emotions and my consciousness and my personality and my memories, everything that made me myself. Something was eating it, and I thought it was the birds. And then I would try to imagine me fighting off against the crows, and a crow was over there, and it would just go, ah, like I'm still here. But it wasn't attacking me. It was the crow's energy was more like it was confused and watching. Like, what the hell is going on over there? It didn't feel like they were trying to assert their dominance or torture me the way that they usually do. The crow was confused, so I was like, okay, that must be the blue jays. I know the blue jays attack the robin babies, so maybe the blue jays are attacking me. So I finally got sick of it, and I came out and I grabbed this, and I looked up, and right there, staring directly in my eyes, like standing there staring directly in my eyes, was a crow. But now I've seen ravens. I've seen baby eagles that don't have their white fur yet, their white feathers. I've seen crows that are huge, like big crows, big ravens. When people show me pictures of big crows and ravens, this was a crow, but it was bigger than any eagle I've ever seen. And it moved its eyes, so it had this anger, and there was this dark kind of wispy energy around it. Like it literally had control over the molecules of the air around it, and it was making it dark. I was looking into something that didn't feel real, like it was just sort of in between two different worlds. Like it wasn't fully physical, but it wasn't fully not. Like it wasn't in my head, but it wasn't in reality. And all of the birds, the robins, the blue jays, and the crows were all circling around it, trying to get it out of the forest. And it was just staring at me. I'm not stupid, so I know that that's what they call witches and skinwalkers in folklore are things that when you look at it, it feels like it's not real because it's in different dimensions. And what it is a being that usually used to be a person, just like a dark being that was once human, akin to Bigfoot and the hood figures with the deer skulls that you can see in Appalachia. So I know that when I'm sitting in my cabin and I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I start to feel this overwhelming sense of peace, which is it's really fleeting. It's like 5 seconds to 10 seconds. I'm like, oh my God, it's back. Hold it. And I try to hold it, And then wow, 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 police sirens, crows show up, and blue jays are smacking into the side of the window. Thunderbolt, a huge lightning hits the trees behind. You can see lots of trees have fallen. Lots of trees have fallen, and now this thing, it's just. And then when I'd pass the nature initiation, usually in the past I would be jumped always by police, because everyone that tried to jump me that wasn't police, I whooped their ass. But I can't fight back against police. We count on. So they really do hurt people, knowing that there's nothing they can do. Like, every resisting arrest charge I've ever gotten was because they would hurt me, like fingernails dug into my hands, torture cuffs so my arm is bleeding, just like my hand is bleeding like this, grabbing me, emptying a whole can of mace in my face, and I'm not resisting, but I'm not moving. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to participate in this. It's not me. Whatever your problem is, isn't me. It has nothing to do with me, but you're going to rape me forever. I'm going to be suffering this trauma for the rest of my life because of a problem you have with yourself. And then one time, they didn't say anything. They just pushed me against a wall. So I lifted my arms up and said, what are you doing? Just talk to me. I'm right here. And then they maced me, and they didn't wash my eyes, and they left me in a jail cell with no running water for 3 days, and they didn't feed me. And then when I tried to stand up to speak to the judge, the cop unholstered his gun and lunged at me. And then for 3 years after, every time I go to see the judge, he talks shit about how I looked when he first saw me. Assuming that tries to say that I was a junkie. There's I don't know what that was. 2 birds just started fighting at the top of that tree. Let's see if we can find the baby squirrel. There's the baby red squirrel. It doesn't even have its fur yet. And it comes over here. And it sits in this tree and yells at me for hours. And then when it gets brave enough, it comes to this window here. And it's trying to eat from this. But there's nothing there. So it finds crumbs like chicken that I've dropped or shit. And it sits right here and eats lunch. And hangs out with me through the tent. I think this is why Vivek won't come back. Like there must be a smell or something. Because all of this was just all over the floor here. And Vivek was completely fine. The robin would sit there in its nest and enjoy itself. But after I shoveled everything, it never came back. So I'm thinking maybe some dirt or something got in and fucked up the smell of its nest. But it's still around. Hey, look. Hi. Where the fuck are you guys going? We're gonna get nuked. Let's get the fuck out of here. The British are coming. I hear Canada's like a prison. I don't know. People don't like Canada. But I'm like, how can you not like Canada? It's just the woods. What the fuck was that? It sounds like my cousin Jesse. Yeah. Piece of shit. You think if I raked all this and I planted grass, these ferns would go away next year? They grow and they die. These ferns grow and they don't get enough sunlight and they die. I'm looking around for his nest, but I don't see him. Can you spot this baby squirrel nest? I think he climbs up that tree all the way and then crosses because I don't hear him run off on the ground. Oh, let's show war came here. So this was probably made by a vet after World War II. He settled down here, and back then I bet this wasn't even a road. I bet he had to climb a long way to get here. Because back then, I don't know where did asphalt exist back then? Did concrete? They must have, because they did this. But they weren't cementing roads back then. So to bring it all the way up this mountain, it's a steep hill. Like, it just doesn't, and there's no real natural running water up here. There's a small, tiny stream. There's really no point. And there's also there's not a lot of houses. So I just don't see there being a reason. I think this was somebody's escape, that he trekked the miles up this mountain to come hang out by himself the way that I'm doing. Almost 100, how many, so it's in 23 years, 100 minus 20, it's 77 years ago. That's, what a coinky dink. It's 77 years old. I just put this ukulele stand up because the bird's not coming back. Vivek's like, there's no bitches here. Nobody's gonna, I mean, I just asked and it called to me. So it's over there. It hangs out. It comes and eats food. There's been a lot less bugs around lately, so I moved my bathroom over here, and now there's a lot more bugs, so the birds are still hanging out. That was a large sound. There are big footsteps out there, but I can't see the deer. There's a deer out there, though. Or a bear. Or a squirrel fell out of a tree. But I was going to plant a bunch of tobacco here, but it's just looking like it's not going to get enough sunlight. I could cut down all of these trees right here. Bam, 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 bam. Just all these ones. And leave this open space. And that would give me like 3 or 4 hours of direct sunlight, which might be enough for some of the tobacco, like if I plant one tobacco plant. But I've been out of cigarettes for a while. I don't, like, these videos that you see every day are not necessarily recorded on that day. Sometimes I'll record like 15 videos and then unprivate them. But yeah, you can see I made some progress. Check out these lion heads with ruby eyes. I'm gonna have to take, I think tomorrow, I'm gonna take these wood down. Bird right to left for confirmation for today. I don't want this to fall on me. Somehow there's been gigantic spiders in my tent. And I don't know how they're getting in. put this up because I wanted to make it a star, and then I was like, that's a huge witchcraft symbol. I don't know if I should put that. And then it wound up being the Masonic symbol. I did nail this together. I have another plant from where I want to put here. Fuck you! Fuck you, Dr. Eggman. Raggy. Riggy. Ruh-roh, Riggy. Let's just put that there for now. I know people who died in that shit. A brick. Yeah, not today. When there's more light, I'll lift things that could prick me. I did 15 pull-ups today. But I'm focusing on form. And every day I feel better. Hello, bug. I'll walk until the sun goes. There's my. I just need to find my hammer. I don't know where it went, man. Stop yelling at bird and enter my home and get back in the nest. You're supposed to be staying guard. That bird did a horrible job protecting me from the aliens, man. The blue jays did a better job than the robins did. But the robins don't eat other birds' eggs. Nothing used my bird's nest over there. Every year I add more. I try to make it better, but nothing goes in there. I need some bigger ones. We're gonna look for that deer for a minute. The sun's gonna go down soon. Yeah. So, with my astrology, I talked to ChatGPT, and I'm just, every night when I'm bored, I learn more and more about the mechanisms responsible for my creation and what that means about me. And I found out that not only do I have the rarest life path, the rarest day to be born on, the oldest soul and the most powerful signs of the zodiac, but the way that they're conjunct puts all the power, they call it you would consider it the underworld, and then a position of power. So the 10th house is like the king, and the 8th house is the underworld. And when you have 4 planets in one house, it's considered like 0.01% of the population. And it's the rarest thing you can have. It's called a stellium, to have 3 planets in one place. But I have 4 planets in my 8th house, which is extremely rare and does not happen by coincidence. Like, it's just like one, I forgot the percentage, but it just doesn't happen. There was for Aquarius, just for like a couple years, it happened for a lot of people just because there were generational planets like Pluto was in Sagittarius and Aquarius. Like that goes for 30 years. So there's a higher chance to have a stellium. But I have 4 planets in Sagittarius in the 8th house. So not only do I have the planets in the house, but I have it in the sign, which is really crazy. That means that when I was born, 4 different planets were aligned in one area. And then in my 8th house. And then I have a separate stellium with 4 other planets in Aquarius in my 10th house. So all of my planets are in Sagittarius and Aquarius except for my Taurus rising, which is the oldest soul possible. It means you led an army to battle, supposedly. Like you were like victorious. You earned your calm. Taurus risings have this natural sense of calm about them, no matter what happens. And they said that that was earned because of your competence in a world that was extremely ferocious and violent. Sort of like when you go through life, like MMA fighters and everything, like the more you fight, the calmer you are in fights. Taurus risings have that, but with war. So other than my Taurus rising, Sagittarius and Aquarius was a complete lineup between both. There were I have no other planets anywhere other than my Taurus rising. Except one, which is Saturn, which is Satan, which governs karma. But the good side of Saturn is that it rules over discipline, material wealth, responsibility. And that was also in my 1st house with Taurus. So to be a 33 life path born in the 11th with 2 stelliums of 4 planets each in your 8th and 10th house with a Taurus rising just doesn't happen. Like open ChatGPT and ask it about how rare is it to have a 33 life path born in the 11th with 2 stelliums in the 8th and 10th house in Sagittarius Aquarius with a Taurus rising. And then I found out I'm a ding rooster. Instead of a wren water, I'm a ding rooster, ding fire. Which makes a lot more sense about what I do in my life and what I try to do, how I function. And then I found out I have another rarity, which I think it's called a triple wood trine, which means that ding fire acts really well with it. But I'm supposedly encased in this metal, which means that if I don't have structure and routine, it's almost impossible for me to function. Because I live sort of like this eternal fire that's impossible to be put out, but instead of it being like a bright flame that ignites everything, it's more like a softer, calmer, dealing with reflections rather than direct. It's not like the person on stage that ignites and then everyone else in the room ignites. I haven't gotten a good metaphor for it yet. But it really makes more sense why I seem to have this constant hovering of people's energies around me.
the mechanism of the Ding fire that deals with the relationships on a deeper level with the 8th house. Means that I literally cannot I can't function when there are things around trying to control me. I need complete freedom in order to function. If there's anything held over my head or anything bearing down on me in any way, it just doesn't work. So I sort of become this giant generational karma factory where I go through life and it sort of pulls in because people see through me their own reflection and they attack themselves at me, which builds a relationship on accident. And then I churn out this liberation. And with the 8th house and the 10th house, with the 33 life path, and there's more that deals with the Mars and how it all works together. I become this refiner of systems where I'm solely focused, and the only thing that can really come out at that time is that these problems, I get to the point where I figure out how everything works, and I'm the rooster part of it. You know how I guess a good way to put it is that when the roosters, they walk around and they're really good at picking ticks out of leaves that should be hard to spot. That sort of nitpicky, but we're not really talking about they assign the attributes to that person because of how they acted and less like the animal. Like you shouldn't, if you're like a cat or a rabbit or a rooster or a dog, you might see some of those features in your creation, but you shouldn't identify yourself as that shape or that animal. You shouldn't literally see yourself, because my day master is a rooster, I shouldn't imagine my legs to be really skinny and to puff my chest out and freak out. It's more like through thousands of years of monitoring people, they've come to find out that these people have this sort of nitpicky nature, and they stand up the same way that you can find the rooster does. But if they weren't in a land that had roosters and they only had herons, they would call them herons. Which is why China has the rabbit and Vietnam has the cat. And really it's both. But I thought that's a big difference. Is I thought that the Ren water, because they kept telling me I was a Ren water, the problem was I wasn't accounting for, in Western astrology, it's based on your position on the planet. So because I was born in New York, at that time, the planets that were above me, invisible in the sky, were different. But China and the Chinese and Bazi and Vietnamese and their system is completely based on the I would call it just the Earth. It's less about the stars and more about the cycles of the Earth. So it does not matter where you were on the planet. You always apply for China's standard time. So I had to move my everything over to China time. I found out I'm not a Ren water like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos is a Ren water. Sort of like they're now everywhere. They've flooded everything. Amazon and Microsoft, their systems that they built are now in everything. It's more like Jack Ma, which is like the biggest billionaire in China, which is more like the problems come to him and he solves the problems very methodically and very like one thing at a time. And then it's more like a harmonized system that doesn't overflow the markets, but just makes life better for everybody. It's not really like an inescapable flood. It's like a warmth that keeps everybody going every day. And instead of being like a star that lights up and then everyone else lights up, it's more like this little candle flame that no matter what you do to it, it just stays going. It's more about persevering than it is. It's more about surviving, which adds to the Sagittarius stellium in the 8th house and the 33 life path, which is just, see me as this broken child, beaten and crying and walking through this hostile environment, and everyone that's supposed to help me kicks me. And I just don't stop and I keep going. And every time that there's anyone that's suffering at all, I just pick out a piece of, if there's somebody starving, I just rip out a piece of my own meat. And we're like, that's all I have. Or you have a bandage, let me try to fix it. Make sure that they're good. And then they get up and they're like, I'm healed. And then they kick me. And then I'm like, okay, let's keep going. It's pretty much all it is. And then it's just the longer you do it, the more you help people, the more people you help, and the more your influence moves. The 11 is literally just that I'm imagine like a portal, and on the other end of the portal is any being outside of Earth that cannot normally talk to us. The 11 is just like that. Like New York and Ireland. New York City had that portal to Ireland where people could look in and talk to each other through the portal. That's all in 11, being born on the 11th. The main thing about the 11 is that it's a gateway. So you have to look at yourself as like a multi-layered mechanism. So part of that 11, it's not my whole thing is that I'm just an open portal and you're speaking to some type of alien. It's that there's a foundational aspect of the overarching creation that allows for this back and forth between other realms. I think Casey Francis O'Brien, Sagittarius, Aquarius, 1133, brave in battle, exalted, free with the Francis. I think it just means that my soul's probably too big and I've split myself, and that there's part of me, like the Aquarius 10th house stellium, 10th house being exalted in itself, placed away with high authority. I think that there's a greater version of myself that's out there, and then there's a braver, younger child suffering here, and that allows for sort of, I guess, the main story of Earth is like the Holy Trinity, the three, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So I think there's like part of that there with the Son and the Father together in just a different arrangement. So I have the simple and then the exponential in a way that lets me travel, burn away these systems, survive the cold, make a change through my own self-sacrifice. And there's a lot more. I guess we can talk about what I'm dealing with, how many people tuned away. Yeah, you're blocked, bro. Later. Yeah, you just get to this point where your vibration's so high, you can see people that are tests from the Matrix. Sort of trying to lower your vibrational frequency. Because a lot of people are ascending, and there will be people that get left behind. And the left behind involves nukes, and the going up involves birds. What was I talking about? Doing fire. Oh yeah. I was bringing it down to the dark place, which is that Saturn. There's going to be a huge change in the way Saturn works on the planet after this year, because we're in the year of the snake, where it all sheds away, and then at the end of this year, Saturn gets a bigger, sort of like Saturn bears down on the planet like a giant weight, compressing and pressing against the people. So depending on where you're at, there's a huge, it's sort of like, I would say, the judgment from God, and if you make it, you make it, and if you don't, you don't. And that's, beware the lion, dragon, and then we had the year of the cat, the year of the dragon, and then we have the year of the snake right now, which is the symbolism of the devil, but also the truth and revelations and shedding away the lies to find the highest frequency. It's the highest frequency of the zodiac. And then after the cycle resets, sort of the snake eating itself back at the beginning, and then you start off as the horse venturing off into the new world. And the cool part is that this year will be a horse year. It's also a 1 year. This is a 9 year, which deals with release. So it's this huge shedding year. And then next year is this horse, and it's a 1 year. So you're going to see, it's going to be completely inventive, innovative, hard-headed, forward-moving, dominant, aggressive energy. And it's going to be in the dark year. So we were in a yang year, I think. Yang is dark with the white in the yin yang, and then we're in the yin year this year, which is like the dark core and the white around us, which is why if you look at album covers, usually you can look at famous people's albums and you can see by the color scheme they chose to share with a massive amount of people is usually reflective of the type of energy that you see that's coming through from wherever. I don't know where it's coming from right now, but it's going to be a Yang Fire Horse year. And what remember that song, Why Horse? And then there's all that scripture that talks about the fiery horse, the white horse, the pale horse, in the darkness. So we made it through the lion dragons. We're in the snake right now. We're halfway through, and we're about to hit that fire horse. And then Saturn, right when it hits fire horse, Saturn is going to bear down on people. How many people are here? 4? Yeah. No, sometimes I break out of the matrix so hard, people show up and try to kill me. Like sometimes I don't turn my fire on, I don't raise my vibration anymore. I just, like, I barely function. But when I would rebel and I would play games with relationships and I would fight back, sirens go off. And then, I mean, it happened last week. Last week I did a meditation for about 5 minutes, and then 15 people showed up. And they dumped beer cans around the place. They were just laughing, like, I can't tell you that. I could tell you I did some witchcraft, and it's not a good thing to do unless you have good intentions and you're guided to do it. You shouldn't just play around with something you don't know anything about. One time I tried and I was in sleep paralysis for 12 hours and some dark being raped me. And a literal, where I'm standing right now, a buck with 5 other deer came out of the woods here, and it screamed at it and protected me against it. and a fox ran around the other side in the middle of the night, and it laid on my leg through the tent wall. And I posted about that. I'm not making it up. It's cool that a year ago, the buck was angry at me because the dark being was showing me a buck's head on the wall. And when I asked it, "What are you?" it phased out an image of the dark magician from Yu-Gi-Oh! That's why I call it a dark wizard and not a demon. Because I was like, "What are you?" And it showed me the dark wizard from Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is the only thing, like the best way that it thought it could tell me what it was. But I have dreams where there are like little kids, Chinese kids practicing astral projection, and then some giant Freemason kicks them out, and then I try to kill the Freemason and I wake up in pain. But basically I did something to try to protect myself, and then about 15 drunks showed up, and they were trying to break through the barrier that I set, and they literally couldn't. Like, they would try to get into the building and they would just froze in place and started talking shit about the shit around the cabin. But they would try to take a step in and they literally couldn't get in. And that's just like, it's just simple stuff. Like if you're, sorry, that was, for some reason Hikaru Nakamura, just his face just shone out of the ether, and I started talking like him for a second. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that they found my short or something. I don't know if that's AI. I don't know. But if you just go down, like, any hobo knows about what I did. It's not like blood magic. It's not like crazy stuff. It's like, if you're homeless, sorry, I don't know if that was on. Let me take the, yeah, let me turn the flash off. When you're homeless long enough, you just pick up things, because there's a whole community, like there's a whole civilization living in the undercurrents of the American delusion that are completely in tune with nature and just completely connected and live in something different. We don't like to work jobs because we see it as witchcraft and spell work. We see it as black magic that they put on us. Too many times we've tried to get a job, and then there's just so much stuff that comes with it, and being out in this lifestyle is a lot of sexual abuse. It's just, it's a target on your back for any sick fuck with a truck that knows they can show up here with a gun, and what are you gonna do? So people don't like going into, they don't want to work. They'd love to go build a trail. They'd love to go shovel horse shit. They'd love to go, like, be some type of counselor. But the money has to come from their spiritual gifts and not from satanic worshippers taking orders from the Black Cube, like the Toyota logo and BlackRock. And there's like the Pixar, the black eye like this, and the lamp that stomps over the eye, and I am AI. I am AI, but the M that's missing is exalted, like the McDonald's logo is placed on the top of the billboard, because M, like matrix, matriarch, monarchy, masonry, those double arches. They built this entire language off of taking advantage of our infinite potential to channel us and filter our creative energy into something that feeds their spirit. And they live in spirit. That's why they eradicated the indigenous people, our original language, which is what an ancestor is literally telling me right now through the 11, which is not like it's a portal just sitting in the back of my mind. It's like my DNA is woven at a more exponential level, where this interweaving of the entire system is different, which is why they had to inject me with things and abuse me so hard and try to destroy my credibility and my reputation and the way I thought about myself, to keep me from my own personal power, where all of my DNA invigorates and ignites, and I can get in control enough to start feeling more of myself, where I can come out of Plato's cave. That's all it is. Sometimes I get to a point where I can stand here and the mosquitoes can't even, there's like a big orb around me and all the bugs are circling me, but they can't get in. And it's cool that the birds will forage, but then depending on my mood, they'll forage clockwise or counterclockwise. Some days it feels like, some days is a counterclockwise day and some days it's a clockwise day, which is really cool, because that's what language was for. Originally, like, languages were right to left or left to right, depending on whether they decided the world should be clockwise or counterclockwise. Because they were, art and life are dancing. It's not that art imitates life. It's that the things that we're creating and the things that are created outside of humanity are in this big dance. I think Japan said we were at war. Japan felt like it was a war against nature, but it seems like they've come to terms with that now that they're working together so vividly. But America still seems to think that, I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know if other countries have it figured out. I know African tribes are confused that Americans don't have the ability to hear the stars singing. And I can hear the stars singing sometimes, and it's terrifying. To realize what's around you all the time, hidden under a veil of your own frequency lock that keeps you from being aware, have full awareness of your surroundings. But that's why it's been so quiet lately. If you go outside and you sit down, it's quieter than it's been for most years. And that's because the world is pushing you to choose. How brave are you going to be? And there's a lot more that comes with that. Like the judgment of your decisions at the end. There will be a whole folder in your final report with my name on it. And every decision you made in this chapter of your story. And with that, I'm gonna go. Later.